Hello fellow whisperers and welcome to Whispers from the Web. In today's episode, I found some of the 10 worst Bridezilla horror stories. Grab your snacks and tune in because this is a disaster. 1. She slapped me in the mouth in the restroom during the reception. She had this massive billowing explosion of organza as a skirt. It was beautiful, but utterly impractically designed. It took at least 3 of us to hold up her skirt so she could pee. She had been drinking on an empty stomach, and on the second trip to the restroom with all of us, holding this dress up while she hovered, drunkenly over a toilet she couldn't see. She ordered me to wipe her. Ordered me to clean her twat of urine. I declined. She slapped me. The skirt was dropped by all parties while I shouted obscenities at her. She screamed that if I didn't do this for her, this friendship was over. Over. She tried to apologize years later, but seemed surprised when I was not interested in rekindling our friendship. Obligatory edit: we were friends in college, by no means best friends. Wiping up a drunk best friend is an honor and a duty. 2. My sister-in-law asked her bridesmaids, me included, to gain 5-10 kilos to make her look better in comparison. I just can't understand that. Edit: sorry, I'm Australian, and went to bed right after I answered this. Didn't expect so many people to be interested in my answer. My sister-in-law is crazy. None of us did it, especially as she outweighed the heaviest of us by 20 kilos anyway. So I doubt it would have made her look any different. She was super serious and threatened to replace us all if we didn't. But my so talked her down. 3. My best friend's coworker is getting married later this year, and oh man, this girl's got some problems. She's very religious and pure. Which, if that's your thing, is fine. Whatever. However, she told my friend last week that she doesn't want anyone at her wedding who was born out of wedlock, which includes my friend, who is the daughter of a Tina Moem. 4. My college roommate asked me to be a bridesmaid in her wedding. I agreed. Then the bridesmaid dress she picked out for me was $2,400. I couldn't afford it and gently told her so. I found a pattern for a similar dress, and fabric that was the same color and type. So I asked her if it was okay if I made this similar dress, or perhaps we could go dress shopping together to find something in my budget. All of the bridesmaids were going to be wearing the same color, but she'd picked out different styles of dresses for each of us. So it wasn't as if I would stick out like a sore thumb. She cussed me out, told me I was ruining her wedding, that her vision required me to wear the dress, and can't I just get a credit card to charge the dress on? When I told her no, she cut all contact with me, claiming that if I was a true friend, I would make the finances work. She's never spoken to me again. She'd been like a sister to me up until that point. One of the dresses she'd picked out for another bridesmaid was $300, by the way. I was pissed when I found that out. 5. I'm a dude, but this was just too terrible not to share. My girlfriend was a bridesmaid for her friend a few years ago. The bride was 2 hours late to her own rehearsal. This was very aggravating to all of the professional staff at the church, who were required to be there. It was equally aggravating to the restaurant staff, who were expecting a large party at 7:30. That didn't show up until 9:30 at a place that closed at 10. They refused to serve us any alcohol as a result, and I think her dad had to end up paying them a big fee for the incurred overtime, and lost business from renting the place out, but leaving it empty on a Friday night. And then, when I thought it couldn't get any worse, she was 90 minutes late for her own wedding because she was getting her hair done. All of the wedding party, priest, etc., standing there right on time. A full church, everyone waiting. After 30 minutes, those standing up decided to sit down, and they announced that the bride would be there shortly. Children crying, people fretting. At least 20 people got up and left. I wanted to, and would have if it were a friend of mine. She finally arrives, gets scolded at by the wedding planner, the priests, her parents. Everyone doesn't even apologize. Just interrupts everyone trying to talk to her to say excuse me. But this is my wedding, and I needed my hair to be perfect, 6. Yes. I can finally share. We, the bridesmaids, were planning the bride's baccalaureate. I suggested we go up to my cottage for the weekend, swimming, drinking, etc., and go into town one evening for a big right bash at a bar. It went over well. All was planned. Since none of us had cars, we live in a big city. Except for the bride and one bridesmaid who lived close to the cottage. We asked the bride or her fiancé to maybe drive to the cottage, or at least to the bridesmaid with the car's place. She said okay. Phew. All going smoothly. We took public transit out to her place on the Friday, and her fiancé drove us to th bridesmaid with the car's place. On the way home, after the cottage, we were told they would only drive us 3 bridesmaids without a car, including me who hosted the weekend, as far as the next big town. That meant we would all be stranded 3 hours from home, while the bride got a ride back to the bridesmaid with cars. House to wait for her fiancé to pick her up. We weren't allowed to go that far, so we were dropped off at a bus stop and took a bus home with all our gear. The bus took us over 5 hours with all the stops and connections. I was very tempted to put the bus ticket receipt in her receiving box at the wedding. I didn't go that far, but she didn't get a very nice gift, worst bride ever. She refused everything. She did not want to lift a finger that weekend. 4 years later, she is now asking if I will make her a bridesmaid at my upcoming wedding. Nope. 7. I used to be frenemies with this girl a few years ago. When she got engaged, she asked me to be a bridesmaid. For her lavish wedding ceremonies there were 2. She had always been self-centered though. So while none of what went down actually came as much of a surprise, it was still incredibly rude, and I'm glad we are no longer friends. I won't go into too much detail. But the biggest issues we butted heads over were the various financial expectations she had of us. It was her sincere opinion that because it was her special day, and because we were her friends, that we were obligated to bend over backwards to accommodate all her ludicrous requests. And if that meant spending upwards of 2,000 each on outfits, gifts, showers, and travel, then so be it. I'm willing to do many things for my friends, but if those things threaten my financial security, then I have to put my foot down. As a bridesmaid, you know you're going to be spending money. I would have been fine spending anywhere from 200,500 tops, but 2,000? Hell no. Unfortunately, being the spoiled daddy's girl that she was, this didn't sit well with her, and she felt I was not being supportive or a good friend. I was booted out of the wedding party several weeks later. She and the Mo, my best friend, had a falling out about the same issues, and she and I both ended up disinvited and defriend. Edit, I forgot the most ludicrous of all. When I told her I couldn't afford everything she was asking of me, she said, and I quote, "Well, can't you just ask your parents for the money?" 8. I was a bridesmaid for a friend's wedding. She was actually really calm about the whole thing. Everything was easy. Then the day of the wedding, when she was about to put on her dress, is when she freaked. She said there was a stain on the front of her dress. There wasn't. No one could see anything. She was screaming at her mother and mother-in-law about it. Said she wasn't going to get married in a stained dress. This went on for about 15 minutes, and then everything went back to normal, and the rest of the day went by smoothly. I was really scared during those 15 minutes though, lol. 9. One of my best friends was getting married. I was to be a bridesmaid. I was between jobs at the time, so I ended up taking a temporary position at the company she worked for. About halfway through the job, I got a great opportunity for a full-time, permanent position in my field. It was competitive, so if I didn't take it right away, they could have easily given it to someone else just as qualified. I couldn't afford to not take it, so I ended my temporary position with her company as gracefully as I could to start my new job right away. She took this as an insult and dumped me as a bridesmaid. In fact, she didn't even let me know if I was still invited to the wedding, or not, until the morning of. I took that as a hint that she didn't actually want me to go, but didn't want to be the bad guy. So waited until the last minute to let me know. thinking I would have other plans, or wouldn't have enough time to get a nice dress or a date. To spite her, I got a fabulous dress that afternoon, snagged a date. We went to the wedding reception, and drank it as much as the free shit we could fill ourselves with. And on our way out, I drunkenly drew a dick on her car under the just married sign with a bar of soap I took from the bathroom. 10. I was Mo for a Bridezilla. She was a pretty shitty person before the wedding, so there's no surprise she turned out to be horrible while planning it. She was an abusive asshole the entire process of planning her wedding. She frequently would scream at me about not caring enough about the wedding, but would then paradoxically not inform me of any of the decisions. We fought every day for hours for nearly a year about her wedding. I talked to the other bridesmaids and discovered she was doing the same thing to them. When the time came to plan her baccalaureate party, everything came to a head. Initially, she wanted to go to Vegas, which almost none of us could afford. After that was nixed, we were having trouble setting a date. And she was being difficult, as usual. She didn't like any of the plans I made for her, and wanted some bullshit that was really impractical and not very fun. Then, I discovered she was lying too. All of us about different baccalaureate party related things to get us to agree to take an expensive trip to another city. I was furious and stopped talking to her for a month. On the day of the baccalaureate party, she was 3 hours late to my house to leave because she went shopping. She ruined our plans, and we ended up missing our dinner reservations. She proceeded to get blacked out really early in the night, and we had to take her home and put her to bed. I haven't talked to her since shortly after her wedding. She broke me. If you like these videos, subscribe and show support. There are many whispers we would like to share.